Hello friends, you're welcome to my complete Java course. In today's video lecture, we are going to learn about identifiers in Java. In this video lecture, we will learn everything about the Java identifiers. So let's start. Identifiers in Java. What is identifiers? A name in Java program is called identifiers. It can be a class name, variable name, and method name. So, in the Java programming language, if you defining a class name, a variable name, or a method name, the name of anything in the Java program is called the identifiers in Java. Like here, you have defined the test as a class name, man is the method name, and x is the variable name. So you can say that identifiers in this program is test, main, and x. Identifier must follow some rules. Here are the rules. So before the defining identifier, we should learn what is the rules for defining the identifiers. So let's understand what is the rule for defining the identifiers in Java. Number one rule: all identifiers must start with either a letter A to Z, small a to Z, or capital A to Z, or currency character dollar or an underscore. So every identifier name must be start with small a to Z or capital A to Z or with dollar sign or with underscore sign. Number two rule is after the first character, an identifier can have any combination of the character. Number three, Java keywords cannot be used as an identifier. So what is the Java keywords? We learn in the upcoming videos. Java keyword is the reserved word for the Java programming language. So that words we cannot use as an identifier in Java. Next one is identifiers in Java are case sensitive. It means foo and foo. Here foo is a small and here foo is a capital are two different identifiers. So identifier in Java is the case sensitive. Now we will discuss about the Java valid identifier examples. Like employee list, dollar my variable, car, string, args, underscore, 9 pins, my variable. These are the valid variable. Now we will discuss about Java invalid identifier examples. Like my variable contain a space. So when you are defining an identifier, you should not give the space between the variables. Like 9 pins, you cannot define an identifier with starting with digit. Next one is A plus C. The plus sign is not an alphanumeric character, so you cannot define as a identifier. Next one is like testing 1 minus 2 minus 3. The hyphen is not an alphanumeric character, so you cannot define the hyphen sign in the identifier. In this identifier, apostrophe is not an alphanumeric character. So these are the And in this, m% is not an alphanumeric character. So these all are the Java invalid identifiers. So if you want to see this with the example, so here I have defined this identifier. This is the invalid identifiers. So you can see, if you define a variable with space, then you will get the error. It is showing the error. You cannot define a variable like this. Okay. In the same way, if you define a digit before a character, also then this is the invalid identifier. So you cannot define a variable with starting digit. Also you can not define identifier with the plus symbol. Okay, now in this we are defining a method with hyphen. So this is also showing that error. You cannot define a test method name with the hyphen. Okay, so it is saying void is an invalid type of the variable test1, and apostrophe also you cannot be used as an identifier. So now we will discuss about the Java naming convention for identifiers. It means how you can define a name to the identifiers. So number one, use camel case for the most identifiers: class, interface, variable, and method. Okay, so what is the meaning of the camel case? Let I will show you. Okay, so the camel case means, if I remove this, okay, it means if you want to define a variable name like my variable, so you will start the identifier name with the small letter like my, then the second letter should start with the first character capitalized like my variable, my var equal to 0. So this is the camel case. The camel case means the next letter's first character should be capital. Suppose if you want to define a method public void show employee. So here S is small and the employee E is a capital. So this is called the camel case. Okay, now let's move with next point, which is use initial capital letter for classes and interfaces and a lowercase letter for variables and method. It means if you are starting a class name should be start with the capital letter, and interface name also should be start with the capital letter, and variable name and method name should be start with the small letter. It means if you are defining a class like a test, then T should be capital. It should not be small. In the same way, if you are defining an interface, also then the interface name should be start with capital letter. But if you are defining a variable, then it should be start with a small letter, and method name should also be start with the small letter. Okay, now discuss with the next point. For constant, use all capital letters separated by underscore. Okay, so how you will define a constant? Suppose if you want to define a constant, public static final, what is the name, suppose a value equal to 10. So this is the you are defining the constant. Okay, but if you want to define two letters for the constant, then you will use underscore value, like employee value, employee. So this is the naming convention for the constant. If you want to define a constant value, then all the letters should be capital, and if you are using two letters, then separate them with the underscore. Now next point is avoid using dollar character in identifiers. Whether dollar character is valid character for the identifiers, but you should not be used, you should most of the time you should be avoid dollar identifier. Number 5, camel case for classes and identifiers like employee class, E is a capital and C is a capital. This is the for the class and this is the for interface. Means first letter is capital and the second letter's first character is capital. Next one is camel case for method and variable is like my variable and my method. Thank you guys for watching this video lecture. I hope you enjoyed this video and you get the knowledge how to define a variable name, how to define a method name, how to define a class name, how to define an interface name in the industry level. Because in the industry, in the real world, you have to define this identifier with the camel case, and with a valid identifier you should be defined. So in this video lecture, you learn how to define a valid identifier, what is the identifier, and what is the rules for defining the identifiers. So thank you for watching this video lecture and watch my next video lecture for learning new things in Java.